From the news to the conversation of the night, and we are counting hours. We're counting down just hours until those special sittings of Parliament tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, where we expect the House, the members of Parliament, to discuss, among other things, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, that is known as the BBI Bill. We did see today the ODM party, the ODM chairman, who is also the leader of minority in the National Assembly, John Mbadi, whipping his members to pass the document in its entirety, because there are those members of the minority that have been advocating for the House to make some changes into it. These have brought a lot of issues and derailed, or at the very least delayed, the process inside Parliament. And we're joined tonight by the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Amos Kimunya, to talk about these and other issues in the House. Thank you, Mheshimiwa, for joining us here on Newsline tonight. But before we get into those issues, of course, the breaking news today, the Judicial Service Commission nominating the Lady Justice Martha Koome for position of CJ. That process is coming to your House next. But just if you could give us your initial reactions to that.
I think my only reaction at this point is to congratulate Lady Justice Martha Koome for being nominated. I wished all the 10, may the best one emerge, and she's emerged among the 10. So that's the most we can do, and we will provide the rest of the process in the House and give Kenyans a Chief Justice.
All right. We'll be covering that for Kenyans as we move forward. Tomorrow and Thursday, the House will be having special sittings to discuss a lot of things, but what has been focused on a lot is the BBI bill. What is the House convening to do?
We're convening tomorrow to do a couple of things. And the most important is the completion of the Division of Revenue Bill, which, as you know, we passed in the House. We took it to the Senate. They made an amendment. And because of that amendment, it needs to come back to the House. And because there's some legal provision that the printed estimates cannot be introduced in the House before the Division of Revenue Bill has been completed, then it's important that we complete that tomorrow. And hopefully between tomorrow and Friday, we'll be able to synchronize the signing plus then the introduction of the printed estimates before 30th, the constitutional deadline. And obviously then there's also some appointment of completion of the appointment of PS for Ministry of Education, Professor Fatuma Achege. There is some new commissioners and into the Teacher Service Commission. And there's a matter we need to sort out about an officer who seemed to have been in double employment, and there's a petition in Parliament that we need to resolve. And obviously then the icing on the cake is the debate on the BBI, which, as you know, was introduced into Parliament on 4th of March. Article 257 says it's supposed to be introduced in the House without delay, which means, you know, having come in March, and we are now towards the end of April, we've actually already delayed, you know, which is in contravention of what was stipulated or anticipated in Article 257. And I would like to dispense with it as soon as possible, so it can go to the Wananchi.
A lot of Wananchi have been wondering why, those who support the BBI anyway, have been wondering why this process got stuck at Parliament. Why would you say that is the case?
It actually did get stuck in Parliament. You know, we have been under lots of pressure from, including the courts, that we need to have public participation on every legislation that passes through Parliament. And immediately we opened the window for public participation through the committee. Then the committee went to start deliberating. So many issues came from the public participation. They called in experts. And it's been, you know, one delay after the other. The COVID came, they couldn't meet. But the good thing is that last Friday, they managed to complete the report. And hence, we cannot delay the process further. We must now dispose of the business of the BBI. But, you know, it's all good. They've done the bit. We have something on record. And I do hope by tomorrow, when members start contributing on Thursday and even vote, whether on Thursday or at the earliest opportunity, right. That, you know, the committee meetings will have enriched that process.
Many Kenyans have been saying that there is a split in the House, and especially in the Joint Legal Affairs Committee of both houses of Parliament over this issue, and that we expect stormy sessions tomorrow and Thursday. Is that the case?
I actually don't expect stormy sessions because at the end of the day, the committee has agreed that the bill should be approved. They've agreed it's okay. There were some differences in terms of just one item, whether a schedule of the new constituencies should have been included, and whether the constituencies should have been specifically assigned to different counties. And this is all divided opinion. But at the end of the day, we will be debating the bill, not the report. The report only guides the members in terms of understanding the bill. But again, this is a process we've been through in the last 2 years. So everyone understands what's in the BBI report, everyone understands what's in the bill, and I expect people will come with independent minds to debate and approve or what is in the best interest of Kenya, not what's in the best interest of one faction or the other.
It would seem to an observant mind that you as a majority in Parliament are speaking from the same page, but your allies in this BBI process, the minority side, ODM to be specific, do not seem to be agreeing. And this has a lot to do with whether or not Parliament has a ceremonial role or whether the BBI bill should be opened. What is your view on this?
I think it's all very clear. Even the committee has agreed that, well, so long as a bill has come through the popular initiative, there's absolutely no allowance for opening up that bill. We must process it, pass it, or reject it, and then it goes to the 190 if we reject. But in this case, for this particular bill, it contains matters that are contemplated in Article 255. Right. Which means, as of necessity, it will have to go for referendum. So whatever we do in the House, it's still going to referendum anyway. But our debate in the House is not just ceremonial. It will help future generations, it will help future revisions, and it will also help wananchi at the referendum. And I expect the overwhelming support that it will receive in the House, coupled with the 3 million signatures that it has already received, coupled with the 43 county assemblies that have already passed it, will continue building the momentum for and a groundswell for a passage of this bill when it goes to the wananchi. So again, every step is important. It adds value, it adds the voice, and helps the next group of people to make an informed decision.
Let's talk about the issue of the 70 new constituencies as proposed in the BBI document. There is a view from the other side that a particular region in the country seems to have got more constituencies, unfairly so, than the other, and that is what is bringing all this of friction. What is your view on the issue of the 70 new constituencies?
From my own reading and looking at Schedule 2, there's 28 counties that have had their population dynamics changing, and hence when you look at the national average, they need equalization or some sort of extra constituencies. That's 28 out of 47. In 19 constituencies, including my own Nyandarua, the population has not increased to such an extent that they require an extra constituency. So I don't know why people would think that these constituencies are in a certain region, because the 28 constituencies are actually not in one region. They are scattered across Kenya, and it's driven by the latest census results that showed where populations have moved. People have moved to Nakuru, for example, people have moved to Kiambu, people have moved to Nairobi, They have not moved to Nyandarua, they have not moved to Nyeri, and they have moved a bit to, to Kwale, they have moved to Kilifi. If you look at all the populations in Mtwapa, that's all part of the population dynamics that are occasioning realignments of the constituency boundaries to be in accord with Article 89, which basically says constituencies should reflect as much as possible the average population across the country.
What would you say that dynamic has been in the Lakeside region, Nyanza region, the larger Nyanza region to be specific, from your own reading? It
probably shows, Nyanza is about probably having the same dynamics as Nyandarua, Nyeri, and all that, where people have moved out into the other counties, or previously that in the previous boundary reviews, they were favored because there's quite a big margin in terms of, between the counties. And, the beauty with this process, the way I understand it, the way I've seen it, is that it uses a scientific basis to look at the entire country, look at the entire population, divide it across the country, and then figure out if we add the 70 new constituencies to get 360, right? Now, which counties require top-up, which one don't require top-up? And when you do things scientifically, you're likely to get, you're going to get the same result regardless of what, who does it. And I think this is the beauty with this, so that we avoid the gerrymandering of the past that perhaps gave us these skewed allocations of constituencies in the past. So again, this is something we should all embrace, and it sets the pace for the future. As you know, even in the US, they just done their census, I think, in the last couple of days. And you will see, and they've started the realignments of the electoral districts, which are period population based. And it doesn't matter, you don't hear this kind of situation that some areas are being favored, because over time they've done it and excelled in it.
All right.
And I do hope that with this review, we will start the process of doing things based on science rather than based on political gerrymandering.
And the lay person in Kenya today thinks that the process of delimiting constituency boundaries should be the work of the IEBC, and the IEBC has said as much, and there has been a push and pull between what was said in the majority report and the minority report of that joint committee. What is your view on this?
Mm-hmm. Yes, in 2010 Constitution, we gave that responsibility to the IEBC as Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and gave them that they must do this within 8 and 12 years. But what BBI has done is also looked at historical injustices and said, for people to move forward in unity and without all this animosity, let's write the whole issue of voice and representation across the entire country by creation of these extra constituencies. This is a proposal by the people, the same people who created IEBC. So in the ordinary course of business, IEBC should be doing all that. But now the people are saying, we have created these 70 constituencies in 28 counties, and we would want you to then go to those 28 counties and align, do the delimitations within 6 months from the passage of this bill. So that is an instruction by the people to IEBC, knowing that IEBC is a creation of the people. The people themselves are the sovereign authority as per Article 1. And hence, what we are basically doing is that people are saying, IEBC, we gave you this power. You probably have not exercised it in the same way we would have wanted. Hence, these discrepancies in having Juja having like, 5 times what, or 10 times what Balabara has, or Juja having, 5 times what Kibeperi has. So, because of these discrepancies, the people, the promoters, who are now 3 million plus, are basically instructing or appealing to the rest of Kenyans that please support us in the referendum to pass this proposal, which will then tell IEBC to create these new constituencies. And as a result of that, we expect there will be harmonization and people will not be fighting in terms of who has more voice than the other. in sharing of resources and people feeling that Ruiru is getting 1/5 of what Kipipiri is getting. And I think that's a distinction, that IBC is a creation of the people. The people are giving IBC extra instructions in addition to what they gave them in 2010, right? And hence, there's nothing like saying, oh, this is my role. Yeah, you are creation of the people. The people could even remove IBC. They could change the role of IBC. Yeah, it could even be said that the elections will be held under the supervision of district commissioners, right? That is the people. So what we now need to do is let's respect the will of the people. Once they vote in the referendum, yeah, that becomes the law. Yeah.
All right. Do you think those new boundaries should come into effect before the 2022 general election?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense because, BBI, the overarching objective of BBI is, first of all, to remove the tensions around the elections.
Right.
And hence, you cannot be doing that and then say it will not apply in the next election, which is a transitional election. And transitional elections are very sensitive because, the incumbent president will not be a candidate. So it's important that we actually get the whole structure right before 2022. And we have enough time for that. In fact, Ben, like I've had people saying that you can't do this delimitation in 6 months. If you now went to Laikipia, for example, and asked them, you're getting an extra constituency, where would it be? By this weekend, they will even draw you the boundaries. If you go to Kiambu and tell them, show us where you want these 6 constituencies, they will actually show you by this weekend. So people have already said themselves, they know where they want, and IBC just needs to facilitate the will of the people without unnecessary delay. Because this is the first time that we are actually seeing a major amendment to the Constitution through the provisions of Article 257, which was introduced, that in the event that Parliament is unwilling or unable to give the people what they want, the people can do it directly. And so long as they have followed the provisions of Article 257, nobody can stop them. Neither the courts, nor Parliament, nor IBC, or any other creature, not even the executive, can stop them. And what we need to do is move fast so that the will of the people can prevail.
If one side of the political divide, especially inside the House, is not satisfied with this issue, will you, as leader of majority, have your conscience clear in moving this process forward?
In fact, I have my conscience very clear that when the people decide, nobody can stop them, okay? And on this one, I'm very happy that my co-leader, the leader of the minority, is solidly with me. We've been in constant communication with him, and we are mobilizing the people together. And I think the little noises that you had in terms of differences within the committee is perhaps over-exaggerated. The bottom line is that the committee signed the report. And the report basically says approve the bill, right? So regardless of the nuances in between, what an expert said, what another member said, but generally, the issue is that they've agreed the bill should be approved. And remember, we are not here in Parliament tomorrow. We will not be discussing the report. We will be discussing the bill. And a bill that is supported by 3 million people, approved by 43 county assemblies, yeah? And which is just awaiting an extra 2 million people to basically, in addition to the 3 million, because the 3 million are going to change their mind.
Right.
So it will be foolhardy for anyone to think that we can derail that. Because you remember tomorrow, and actually on Thursday, we will be doing voting by roll call. So history will record who voted for, who voted against. It's not just a simple acclamation where the voices can be, nobody can tell who said aye, who said no. This will be a recorded vote. And I know most of the people will think seriously, will think twice before putting their vote, either yes or no. Because, you can't be seen to be against the people. All right.
Before we continue, I want us to listen to earlier today, the members of the minority side, the ODM party, their discussions about the BBI bill, their leader, John Badi, chairman of ODM, whipping them ahead of those sessions to vote for the bill in its entirety. Let's listen in.
This House, Mr. Speaker, is ceremonial in the sense that it's a conveyor belt.
I've heard people saying that we are just ceremonial, we are just coming here to see as things go. And the same constitution talks about Article 94. Then you come and tell us that we are ceremonial. Ceremonial in whose ceremony?
Issues raised are so pertinent even to members in this House that we cannot take this business, that this House will just become a conveyor belt of this BBI process.
A report by...
All right. What you call noises, Mheshimiwa, small noises, they are coming from some very senior members of the ODM party. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, but I think that the clip you just played was some discussion in the House when, we were discussing about the committee wanting extra time, and yes, people had thought, that we should fast track it. So the context is totally different from what happened last weekend. But what I also know is I don't subscribe to the view that the role of the House is ceremonial, because it's only unique to this bill that it contains some Article 255.
But you cannot open it, Mheshimiwa, can you? You can't change a comma in it, can you?
No, we cannot open it. We cannot open it because it came from a popular initiative. I remember the whole point of the popular initiative is that people go for popular initiative instead of parliamentary initiative when they believe that Parliament may derail the initiative or may be unable or unwilling. So that's why they go through the pain of collecting 1 million signatures, going and convincing 24 out of the 47 counties. And when somebody has done that and they met the threshold, then Parliament cannot derail them. Because the crafters of the law said, if we, one of the houses, rejects this bill, it goes directly to the people. Because take, for example, a situation, if some members of the public wanted to reduce the number of constituencies. We are talking of an increase now, yes, but they could well have decided to reduce the number of members of parliament. Now, I don't see any parliament that will vote for it to be reduced, right? And that's why now Article 257 says, in the event that parliament does not agree with the people, or you, the proposers, take it directly to the entire population and convince them, and with the vote, that becomes a law. So for us, parliament is like, if the promoters can convince us, and if perchance that the bill that was coming did not have referendum matters, then it could have ended up in Parliament and taken to the President for signing.
All right.
But this is a unique bill. Like I said, either way it has to go to referendum. So some people may think we are being ceremonial, but we are actually not being ceremonial. We have a role to play in terms of reviewing it. What lessons can we pick for this for the future? What recommendations can we make to future reviewers in terms of, like, yes, we believe this article has been done like this, but we would like in future another group to review, to take it and review it like this so that it's more coherent. So there's nothing in vain.
All right.
And that's why we spent some money in the committees and all that, and time.
Well said. All right.
In fact, it's close to 2 months now when the matter has been debated in Parliament.
Before, I want to talk about a couple of other things, but before you do that, what is your view on the litany of errors that Kenyans have witnessed in this entire BBI journey? You talked about 43 county assemblies passing the bill, but we understand 32 of them could have been debating the wrong version of the bill. I mean, well, these mistakes raise a lot of questions, don't they?
Now, I think there's also mischief in the reporting on these mistakes. As far as I've looked at the bill, or the so-called 2 versions of the bill, it's small typos in terms of referencing. When somebody puts on a section says that add a new clause 3 after clause 3, it's very clear it's a mistake. And you go back to the where it's being added, and you see the last one was clause 2. Those are typos that are actually cleared out by the Attorney General's office before the final assent. Now, there's no discrepancy in terms of the substance of the bill. It's more reference issues, which usually come out because of, in editing and people, when you are rushed up. Hence, I will not be worried. And I see this every day on every bill that we pass in Parliament. We then have to come with a fine-tooth comb, and you'll find, even after some have passed, you might even see these corrigendas that are gazetted to say on this bill that was passed, change this to...
There are some of those mistakes.
So I wouldn't worry about those small errors.
There are some of those mistakes that, like there was a mistake that talked about Article 87 and 88 when it in fact meant Article 89. There was one on the...
no, it actually, it was 87.7.
Yes.
Instead of 89.7. But in the Constitution, there's no 87.7.
Right.
So, and since you even know the subject is talking about, that IBC should do this while taking effect 89.4 and 89.7, yeah? So we know what it meant. It was 89.7, and that's something that will be corrected, yeah? So those are small things that...
some would say that these mistakes would be changing the text and the meaning of the bill or some contents of the bill.
No, it doesn't. In fact, if you even leave them as they are and take it to the people, all right? With even a small explanation that this has been picked up and will be amended at the final. Even in 2010 Constitution, there were small typos that were cleared out. So there's no document that can be so perfect. It will not have. It might even have a comma in the wrong place. But does that comma, placing it, does that change anything in the bill? And that is what we have to be careful about. So in terms of like whether there was the right version or the wrong version, I believe everything came from IEBC. The bill that was debated by Nyandarua County came from IEBC. The one that was debated by Kisumu came from IEBC. The two counties never sat together to check, were you given, which one were you given or whatever. When they all came back, our speaker looked through them and confirmed that they had done what was supposed to be done. And hence, when the numbers were confirmed that we have done enough, or there's enough numbers that are passed, then it was decided it can be introduced in the House. So we've already passed that bit, and come into the next bit of discussion in the House. Once the two houses have debated and it goes to IBC, by the time they are taking it to the people, what I expect is that all the copies the millions of copies that will be printed to be taken to the people there'll be some extra care to ensure that we don't end up with either something online is different from what is physical, and all the necessary safeguards so people don't come and say,
very quickly, Mheshimiwa, where would such mistakes happen? Because we understand that the copy of the National Assembly has no mistakes. The one in the Senate and the one in the 32 county assemblies had discrepancies. Did these changes happen at the government printer or at the county assemblies?
No, the only thing we know is that we received our copy that we received in the National Assembly came from IEBC.
Right.
The copy that went to all the 47 counties came from IEBC. The copy that went to the Senate came from IEBC. So what we would have expected is IEBC would have looked at all the copies and ensured that they are distributing the same bill across all the recipients, the 47 counties plus the two houses. Now, so again, fortunately for us, these are minor typos. If, for example, the schedule was different, saying that Kisumu should have 3 constituencies in one and then the other one saying 2, then I would be worried. But in terms of 3 items of referencing, mentioning, put this after clause 3 instead of after clause 2, saying, at the marginal note that amendment to 188 instead of 199, or even the other bit of referring to 87.7 instead of 89.7, it's so very clear where the mistake is.
All right.
And correction of that does not change at all the substance. And this is where we now need to look at the substance of a form. Yeah, we're spending too much time on the, splitting hairs on small issues instead of looking at what is the substance. What is it changing materially at all, or even is it changing at all the intentions or the promoters, what they want the people to approve.
All right. As we move forward with this, there were delays. You agree in the stage with the Joint Legal Affairs Committee. Now it's coming to the whole House. What can Kenyans expect? Will we have a referendum by July?
We should. Actually, in fact, we can even have a referendum in June, because once we pass the bill, either by Thursday or make our decision. Let me put it this way: once we make our determination on the bill on Thursday or latest by Tuesday, IEBC have within 90 days to call a referendum. And because I expect that IEBC have always known that we are not going to change in the House, so I actually expect that they have been working around in terms of what they need to do before to determine a date.
All right.
And that date could even be next month. Yeah, there's really nothing. There's nothing that needs to be done except gazetting a date and telling people, go out there and market your document, put everything in order. A referendum is the easiest thing to conduct. You know, you only have a yes or no, right? So you don't have so many arrangements of so many ballot boxes and so many people around. It's a simple yes or no, yeah? And hence we can pull it off. And this is the third referendum we are doing, so we have experience.
All right.
So we can actually get IEBC can pull it off within the next 2 months, so that we have it by June or latest July, and then they get on within the next 3 months. They could have done the delimitations, and by December, people will be knowing where they will be vying.
All right. Away from the BBI, I want us to talk about the majority party, Jubilee Party. It is the party that is in power, making a lot of decisions for this country, so it is important what happens with it. And also its relationships in governance, in parliament, especially the handshake. Very quickly, a lot of people say that the handshake entirely depends on the success of the BBI. Would you agree? And is that at all in any kind of jeopardy?
No, I believe the BBI is a product of the handshake. But the handshake goes beyond BBI. You know, it's stabilizing the country, national unity. BBI is only one of the outputs of the handshake. And so long as the two partners, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, and his brother, as they call one another, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, so long as the two are committed to the mission they established in March of 2018, that they want to unite this country, they want to, have this no violence during elections. That is what they want to see, and so long as they are committed to that, then what we as their followers do or not do will not shift their commitment. And every time they've talked, I hear them saying they are still committed to the 9 principles they agreed as part of the handshake, and they want to see that through. So there are some people who would want to associate to think of BBI and 2020 election, 2022 election, or BBI and our cooperation within Parliament. But our cooperation within Parliament is again based on, we will agree on issues where we have commonality. On issues where we don't have a common stand, I expect even my own minority counterpart to declare their stance from a political party perspective, that our ODM stance is this on this matter. Because that's what the checks and balances is all about. We don't have to agree on everything, but on things that we agree on and are good for Kenya, we will cooperate together for the benefit of creating this great republic we call Kenya.
Now, the 2022 political machinations will be very much be part of what happens in our day-to-day political life. Have the talks of political coalitions, we've heard of Raila Odinga, the ODM party leader, meeting with the Jubilee deputy party leader, William Ruto, to caucus, and that has brought some political issues there. Such things, how much do they endanger the handshake and the political cooperation in Parliament?
Fortunately for us in Parliament, I've seen this within the committee work, within the work on the floor of the House. Most of the members of Parliament who debate on an issue, vote on an issue based on the merits or demerits of the issue, not on the factional situations that they represent. So we fortunate from that point that our members have come to look at issues as distinct from their political allegiance. Obviously, as we move closer to the election, people will start aligning with their political, favorites, and it's something we have to be aware of. It's something we have to take into account as we lobby within Parliament. And for me, from where I sit, I look at all the bills that we need to pass. And I want to, when I sit with my counterpart, John Buddy, when I sit with my people within Jubilee who have a certain allegiance to a certain faction, my role is to show to them that, this bill has nothing to do with factional politics. This is how it's good for Kenya. Let's pass it despite our factional differences. And where something has factional implications, then we'll just let people vote on their own conscience.
Let's talk about Jubilee, sir, and I cannot not ask you this. You talked about your working relationships and cooperations in the coalitions in Parliament, and this past week, your party sought to end its relationship with what was formerly known as PDI. It was a pre-election coalition that has morphed into UDA. What would you say informed that?
Well, I think I saw the vice chairman explain is that it's not a decision of one person; it's a decision of the management committee of the party, the National Management Committee, and they looked at, said, yes, we had a coalition agreement with PDR, which said we can do 1, 2, 3. Now, PDR has metamorphosed into another party, a party that is in direct competition in terms of candidates for parliamentary seats, candidates for county assembly seats with Jubilee. So you cannot be in a coalition with somebody and you're also out there campaigning and fighting one another for political power, yet you're in the same coalition. So there are some actions that take place that you tell somebody, yes, we agreed to cooperate, but now we have decided to compete. And when you now move from cooperation to competition, it's time to then re-establish what kind of relationship should the two have. And I think that's the basis on which the notice was given. And, the other party has declared, some conflict and hence, or some dispute. And then there's a mechanism now within the Political Parties Act that will then resolve that dispute. And the less we say about that, perhaps the better, so that the matter can go through the legal processes. All right. And then we all know where we stand. Yeah. Generally
speaking, though, what is your view on what the solution is in terms of getting Jubilee Party to be as clear as possible? Because we know that it is divided. There is the Hustler Nation inside the Jubilee Party. What should happen? What is the ultimate solution, in your view?
Jubilee as a party was elected and given a 5-year mandate by the people. A very overwhelming mandate, having won in the National Assembly, in the Senate, in the counties, even in governor seats. It's a very unique mandate that was given to Jubilee Party for 5 years, right? So it's so unfortunate that because of competition for what happens after the 5 years, some of the members within the Jubilee would want to look for life outside, the mother party. And I would encourage everyone, yes, let's give life to Jubilee. Jubilee is there to stay. It condensed so many parties together to create this big party that should be there. You notice, for example, our main competitor, ODM, have been in place since 2005, right, as one party. They've done different formations, but ODM still remains. KANU has been there since independence. And we would have expected that Jubilee, as a party, would have outlasted all these other parties, so that even these big visions that we had, for example, on the Big Four agenda that Jubilee is undertaking, should not be tied to, terminating at 2022. It's a Jubilee vision for carrying on the Big Four, which it's something that needs to be done over the next 20 years. So I see Jubilee moving into the long term. I want to encourage everyone, let's work together. Let's compete within Jubilee, but not split Jubilee to then compete against one another, as different parties. But we can have our own competition in terms of who becomes the party leader or who becomes the presidential candidate for Jubilee in 2022, rather than trying to, run away because you probably don't think you'll get support and start looking for another party to build.
All right.
Because Jubilee will still be there and will be strong.
Like you say.
But perhaps that also gives an opportunity for people who stay within Jubilee to also become presidential candidates. Yeah.
Like you say, in 2016, several parties, almost a dozen parties merged. But we have seen since a lot of splits. We've seen dissenting voices, members being de-whipped, members being kicked out of the party, nominated lawmakers being, being kicked out. And will there be a Jubilee party in 2022, or what form or shape will it be in, from what we are seeing?
Jubilee as a party will continue. No, in terms of members being de-whipped, in terms of members being changed around, in terms of disciplinary matters and all that, that happens not just in parties, it happens even in churches, it happens even in homes. So that is something that we just have to learn to live with. And luckily, there is enough mechanism for somebody who feels perhaps they have been unfairly treated. There is enough appeal mechanisms. Now, in terms of whether Jubilee will be there or not, I hope to continue being a member of Jubilee. And I'm sure even the fact that UDA have registered a dispute, because they are told that there is a potential termination of the coalition with Jubilee, tells you that, yes, they are desirous to remain within Jubilee. Otherwise, if they were not, they would have been said, good riddance, we are gone. The fact that they are actually resisting is because they believe they are better off within Jubilee than outside Jubilee. So Jubilee is still a brand. It has a presence across the country. It has the mandate of the people up to 2022. And I believe that if we all pull together, we can continue with Jubilee, with the Jubilee vision. Like I said, with the Vision 2030 project under the umbrella of the Big Four, we can continue doing that beyond the term of beyond this second term of Jubilee. So Jubilee has a future.
Yes.
And me, I'm very optimistic that it will be there to stay, and even the people who are moving out will eventually come back. Because once we have this BBI thing, out of the way, and then we have an electoral date approaching, 9th of August 2017. By the time we are getting into December, people will be looking at where am I safest? Am I safer in a new configuration, or am I safer where there's already a structure, right? And you see lots of realignments. Even what you are seeing now could change drastically come December this year, with 8 months to go.
All right.
You realize even by the time all political parties have the real coalitions and the real candidates emerge just within the last 6 months of the election. Everything else is people just, testing the waters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we wind up, I have to ask you this, Mheshimiwa. I want to...
And like you say, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Probably we don't even know there may be other candidates emerging.
True.
Yeah. We're just going through the people we know.
I want you to talk to us about. I want you to talk to us about the future of the Jubilee Party in the. You call it a transitional election 2022. The president will be retiring. I want you to talk to us if there is a kind of a power vacuum for the leadership of the Jubilee Party. And as you do that, there are so many balls in the air concerning 2022, and this has led to a kind of a theory that the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, may be planning, with the help of a few people, to extend his stay. What is your take on that theory?
No, I think on that theory of extension, the president has come out so many times and said he doesn't want to stay a day longer than the mandate that was given to him by the Kenyan people as president or in any other configuration. In fact, the last time we had a discussion with him as addressing us, he said, "You don't expect me to go and start vying in Gatundu or anywhere else. So, and he can't vie as president, he cannot vie as a deputy. So he will retire. But that does not rule out. He has so much passion for Jubilee Party. Nothing stops him in law or even politically from continue giving leadership of Jubilee Party and hence determine the future direction of the party. Because it's the continuation of the party that will also ensure that even whatever he has not completed will eventually get completed. Because unfortunately in this country, we are so quick. We talk about political parties when we want sponsorship during elections. But we forget about those parties and we start acting as individuals or following individuals, and we forget that the party manifesto is what we sold. And that party manifesto is an institutional manifesto. So Jubilee is an institution. And it doesn't matter who is a candidate, who is a president, who is the MP at the Jubilee. As an institution, it should have life. That's why the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Conservatives in UK, the Labour Party in UK, they outlive the leaders. Yeah? Right. And it's something we foresaw even in the design of the Vision 2030. If you remember in the third pillar of the Vision 2030 about issue-based politics that are not personal-based. Create political parties. That's why political parties are even funded through public funds. All right. To create those institutions that will outlive individuals. Yeah? All right, tell me this. So even in the 2022, yes. The transition year, I would expect that Jubilee will be there with a manifesto. It will convince Kenyans why it needs to continue, and it will then sponsor its candidates and candidates across the whole spectrum in terms of parliament, in terms of the county assembly, right. And it will compete with all the other parties that will be sponsoring candidates. And this is exactly what we're doing in Juja, this is what we're doing in Bonchari, this is what we've done in all the other parties where in Rorie, in Nyandarua, where we expect to win, and in all these other parties as Jubilee, because we believe in the future of Jubilee. All right, thank you. As we wind up, sir, away from politics, as a leader of majority in the 12th Parliament, do you think, and in the middle of a global pandemic, do you think Parliament has done enough to curb spread of this disease and to cushion Kenyans in the wake of very unprecedented times? Yes, I think we've done fairly well. We've taken risks to assemble, even knowing that, assembling in the middle of the pandemic endangers the rights of the members, because we need to be there to pass the regulations, we need to be there to pass to vote for the funds that are required for fighting COVID, and even to provide leadership to our people in terms of what they need to do. So I would actually say, even in the circumstances we still have passed as many bills as even during that were passed without the COVID. You'll notice, for example, in the last, in this first part of this session, we've actually been meeting from morning. On Tuesdays, we've created even a night shift to catch up on lost time. Our committees have been meeting virtually, physically, right. Because there's work to be done. And I do believe that as a parliament, we've actually gone beyond the call of duty to do what we need to do so that we help support the other institutions, be they the Treasury, be it the Ministry of Health, be they the Executive, in facilitating them to fight the COVID pandemic. Many Kenyans say that the BBI is not a priority, should not be a priority for their leaders in the middle of a pandemic. What do you say to that? Now, which many Kenyans are saying BBI is not a priority? Because the many Kenyans I've talked to are the people who tell me they want stability. They don't want a repeat of 1992, 1997, 2007, 2017. They don't want those skirmishes that follow elections. They want a united Kenya where a candidate could emerge from anywhere and become the president. Yeah? Now, BBI is helping to bring that future. So BBI is not just about 2022. It's the future. If you look at the estimates from the World Bank, they said, for example, in 2007, that those skirmishes cost Kenya close to 430 billion in terms of lost GDP. Now, if you look at every election cycle, you lose 1 year before, 2 years before due to tensions. If you just look at how much money we are losing in terms of our GDP growth, compared with the little we are going to spend to get this BBI and to get a stable future that can attract foreign direct investment, that will ensure that people can live in harmony, it's a price worth paying. And people need should stop looking at, is it BBI or COVID? Yeah? Is it BBI or kids going to school? Yeah? We cannot say, don't do roads, do water. Yeah? Don't do electricity, do petrol. Yeah? All these things are priorities, and we just need to take them in our stride, do BBI, do COVID interventions, ensure that we have the right infrastructure, ensure we have the right social protection, and then Kenya will move forward. Yeah, we chewing gum as we walk.
All right. Thank you, sir, for speaking to us tonight. Amos Kimunya, Leader of Majority in the National Assembly, speaking to us here on Newsline. All right. Let me just give the...
Ben,
yes.
Can I
maybe
pass
your
my
final
condolences
remarks
to the family of... yes, just my condolences to the family of, the prolific author and journalist Philip Ochieng, who rested today. It's somebody we'll miss, and may his soul rest in peace.
All right. Thank you, sir. Amos Kimunya, Leader of Majority in the National Assembly, speaking to us here on Newsline. I'll show you leave it. But before we go, let's bring you a sneak peek of what to expect in tomorrow's edition of The Standard. Of course, talking about today's momentous announcement by the Judicial Service Commission. Madam CJ, how she beat the odds. The Standard speaking about the many, how many Kenyans did not consider her for the top judiciary posts, with a formidable competition, including us and a sitting woman DCJ and the Mount Kenya political undercurrents, all that, of course. And now she rests on the cusp of becoming the country's 15th Chief Justice. You can check out that story in much more details in pages 6 and 7 of The Standard. And of course, more news on the 2020 KCPE exams and what teachers and private sectors and stakeholders are saying about what the exam looked like. Be sure to grab your copy of The Standard tomorrow for details of that and more stories. Let's leave it there on Newsline this Tuesday night, the 27th day of April 2021. For all of us here on the broadcast, we do appreciate the privilege of your time tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Ben Kitili. Good night from Nairobi.
This is